in the military, when people come out of it, do you feel like they turn to some sort of an addiction?
Well, and this is, of course, not for all military.
Yeah, of course.
Most of us are addicted while we're in. I never did drugs, and I was not a full blown alcoholic until I really joined the military. That's when I became a professional drinker. So I think a lot of us, that's where we pick up the habit. But then when we get out and we're no longer that thing, we're no longer that rank, we're no longer that uh, whatever we did in the military, and now we're a civilian. It kind of exasperates it because now we don't have a mission, we don't have a paycheck, we don't have the camaraderie, and now we're left alone with our thoughts, which is really scary. So I think
Yeah.
not, like I said, not everybody, but a lot of people start their addictions in the military and then just take it home with them, and it just gets worse.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Well, that's same with I'm gonna say it, pornographic addiction as well, because teenagers begin that. Because and I'm gonna put the blame here. I'm gonna put the blame on the education system here because they
Yeah.
teach kids of today about sex education. And I think that's exactly where it activates that pornographic addiction. I'm probably wrong. I'd like to know your views.
No, you're right. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, because obviously it activates where it could be teenage pregnancy, it could be, I don't know, men chasing everyone and just all that. It just yeah, where it leads to parties, drinking, drugs, all that, sex. Just it
Well,
all comes in one.
I don't think it's just that though. Like, yes, they're starting to teach that earlier
Yeah,
in school. I don't agree with that. I think
no,
it should be up to the parents to do that at home for an age appropriate level. Granted, there are also parents that refuse to have the conversation. So let's just call it what it is.
of course.
But I also think that when you're looking at it from that trauma standpoint as well, and again, I'm going to bring this back to foster kids. If their parents have been traumatized and they're dealing with their own addictions, drug, alcohol, sex, whatever it is, and the kids are involved in that, they might not even be abused themselves, but they're witnessing all of this stuff, then again, it stems to the home and what the parents are letting the kids view and see, because they're not in their own mental capacity and state to be able to truly protect those kids the way they should be protected, which is then why they are entered into the system.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look again at those addictive behaviors, kids that have been exposed to pornographic material at, say, age 2, age 3, 5, whatever it is, they view that as something normal. And then as they get older, and then, yes, you enter in the sex education and all of that stuff in the public school system, then it triggers them into the adrenaline rush of viewing porn.
Yeah.
And it continues to spiral on. I mean, again, we had kids that some of them were on the sex offender list because the trauma that they experienced, then they thought, okay, let's experiment, let's do this. And then the system gets involved and they get put on the sex offender list because they touch their sibling or whatever it is. But it wasn't necessarily sometimes anything malicious. It was just, okay, is this normal? Because, hey, we saw mom and dad do this, or we saw this happen in a movie or whatever the case may be. And now the kid carries this for their entire life because, again, they weren't protected. They weren't supervised in a manner that was appropriate. So it all goes back to and cycles around to what is the home life like? What are the parents doing or not doing? So I think a lot of some of those tendencies of pornography or even just sexual violence or anything along those lines, you have to track it back to what happened here. Where did this start? Because it doesn't just appear. It doesn't just happen. There's something along the lines that happened to them that is unresolved trauma.
It's interesting because a lot of I find a lot of the schools I've worked with are sometimes having situations where the parent, where there's children who are perhaps exhibiting inappropriate behaviour and not having obviously not having the right socialisation. And sometimes we'll find a situation where the parents will say, well, it's the school's fault, the school isn't providing the right support and socialization, and whether at school and the school are sort of was saying, well, they're clearly not being given the right socialization of values and behavior at home, and it's sort of always both blame each other. And I think there has to be a consistency of both. It is both responsibilities, because obviously children spend a lot of time at school instead of being homeschooled, and schools do have a responsibility to safeguard them and obviously teach them, nowadays teaching values and educate them about social behavior. But at the same time, I think ultimately, there's got to be that the socialization at the home as well. But I think the problem is where, and it's got to be that consistency, that sort of joint approach, because of what I find is where if it's just happening at a home but not at a school, or just a school not at a home, then that's where it slips through the cracks. That's where you find that problems going to rise, and it's just one, it's either blame the school or blame the parents, but actually it's got to be that joint approach. That's the only way really to reinforce these.
Well, well, just going off topic a little bit, that's the situation where we're currently in right now, is because we've got the school saying, oh, the kids are brilliant, they're thriving, they're exceeding in all topics.